Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Gather Creator Spotlight video. I am excited today to bring Marie Rios. Marie is the founder of MTR Event Design, and she's been doing her thing with events for a long enough time to be super expert in this field. And so I'm really excited to have her as part of our community. Because we haven't had anyone who's really versed in events and not only in person but online events, which is obviously something that's been really important this last year. So Marie, welcome to the party. Welcome to the Gather community. So excited to have you here.
Awesome, Tracy. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be part of Gather, and it's been a blessing to meet you and get to know you and grow with you.
Yay, so much fun. So I want to start by asking you how you get started in events. Like, I know you've been doing this for a number of years, and I want to say maybe you started with weddings, but maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe it was corporate. So tell us, like, how did you get to doing what you're doing? Like, how did that even start? And like, give us a little bit of backstory.
Okay, great. Well, it's so funny because I went to college to first I started out with accounting and I thought I wanted to do that and that just was not my thing. And
Can't imagine that.
not at all. And marketing was just, I loved it. I loved, I excelled in that area. Then I graduated, and it was really funny because I did end up getting into accounting, but I never really liked it. And so I started actually, I connected with a girlfriend of mine. She said, "Hey, Shackley Corporation." I don't know if you remember
I
Shackley.
do know Shackley.
They're looking for somebody to work in their recognition and incentives department. Would you be interested? And I worked there for a number of years, worked with a lot of the meeting and event planner people. I did a lot of the recognition and incentives programs. So I knew about like meetings and events. I
Yeah.
traveled. I did a lot of that. And then a girlfriend of mine who I'm still such good friends with, Lisa, she's an attorney, family law attorney, but we were talking about, hey, it would be so fun to start a party planning business. And I actually did focus more on weddings. So we did, and then I was like, go, 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 go. And it just was better. We're great friends, and I started my own wedding planning business, and I did it for a number of years. And I've been in and out of it. Like 2010, as we know, the economy had totally tanked. And that was the year, unfortunately, my father passed away. I ended up closing my business and moving to Guam. And I thought, oh, I'm not going to do any events anymore. I'm going to move, and I ended up planning concerts bringing people from the States, bringing them, well, Guam's also a U.S. territory, so it's part of the United States. But I bring people from the mainland to the island for concerts, and I worked for an ad agency. We just did a lot of different things. So events have always been part of what I'm doing. Came back in 2014, and then again kept saying, "Oh, I'm not going to do events. I'm not going to do events." And I just went right back into the weddings. Love doing weddings, and then I've been the last 3 to 4 years really wanting to be back in the corporate sector. I really enjoy, first off, I enjoy repeat business. So, and in weddings, you just don't get that. And
Hopefully for them.
yeah, I know, I know. Corporate's just my thing. I love working with conferences and retreats and also nonprofits. So that has been really what I've been wanting to do for the last 3 to 4 years. And then COVID hit, right?
Right.
COVID hit, and what did we all do? Most everyone canceled or postponed their events. A lot of my weddings, I had like 15 on the books. They all
Did you?
rescheduled.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, rescheduled or canceled within a week. Within a week, and actually, there's probably about 4 or 5 that have stayed with me, and they just rescheduled a couple times. And I had one corporate client who they have done their conference every year at the Palace Hotel in San Francisco, and they just said, "Let's figure this out. We have to do this." So within 6 weeks, there's actually quite a few of us on the team, and we pivoted and created a great conference. And it was the first virtual conference, and it went really well. And then we just keep improving. And that opened up a door for me. It opened up a door of looking at this and saying whether you're talking a live event, virtual, because they're all live events.
Right.
So
Oh, I
virtual,
totally agree. I've been telling people that like there's no
right?
such thing as a virtual event. It's actually happening.
Yeah, it's live. Of course, some people do pre-recorded, but still, when you're bringing that pre-recorded on, it's live.
Right.
That's live. So that's what, and I actually, a lot of people ask me, what's the VEMM after your name, Marie? What does that mean? So what ended up happening, Event Leadership Institute had a virtual event meeting and management certification. I decided I love to learn. So I was like, I'm going to learn everything I need to know about technology. Now, I'm not a video tech sound AV, but I know a lot of it. And that's what my clients hire me for, to convey to them and so they can understand
Yeah.
what all that tech means. So I'm actually really having fun with it. And where that one event has created so much for me on referrals and just other things, and my business is actually thriving in 2020 versus last year,
Yes.
versus where a lot of people were not doing as well. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, you had that ability to move quickly into a new arena that was untested and basically untested and maybe uncomfortable, right? That for you, not being that tech person, knowing enough to be able to talk to the tech people and
Yeah.
being the layperson enough to be able to talk to the client, being that person in the middle who's like, I can herd all these cats and put it together as the I think you've called yourself like the project manager of the event, right? You're the event
Correct.
manager. You're
Yeah.
not the planner, you're not the tech, you're not the implementer, you're the manager of all of the pieces, right?
Correct. Absolutely. And that's and I think that's a really good way of,
The
just,
herding cats, is that the best way?
yeah, I mean, I just think it's great, because a lot of people think project management. Well, it's really hard for people. I have to say, when you say virtual event planner, it's hard for people to understand what does that
What does
mean
that
and why
mean?
do I need you? I don't get it. How do I need you? But when you talk project management and everybody working with the production team, because it's not just, there's so many aspects, and that's what I learned a lot. There's so many teams that are involved in event management, whether any live event. So
Right.
your speaker management, your selecting, also if it is live, selecting the venue, but your marketing, your social media, your sponsors. So you have to have all these teams, and
Right.
what better way than to have a project manager to help bring all those
I
together.
think also you bring the perspective that it can be like anything you imagine. I think a lot of us who came from the in-person world or are just building our businesses too, right? Like you
Mhm.
have this vision of, oh, well, this is what it'll be, and that's kind of a very small picture of what's possible. So in
Yeah.
talking with you, all of these other ideas of how to have your audiences stay engaged and how to really support the people on screen, on stage, right? Virtual stage or actual stage, and whether they're being watched on screen or in person, it's all a stage. Your ability to look at like the potential reach, and because everyone, all of us who are putting on events, we want to reach as many people as possible. We want our participants to get a lot of value out of being a part of it, and we want the audience to get a lot of value out of watching it. And to imagine something small gives all of those people a small amount of value, but you bring the bigger picture, which allows everyone to have bigger value, and that's what everyone wants. Ultimately, they just don't know what to how, like, they can't
Yeah.
conceptualize even what that looks like without someone like you explaining what's possible.
Well, and I think it's important. You touched on something, Tracy, here, because and I think a lot of people do this with their clients, but it also happens with events. You have to start with strategy. What's your purpose? What's your goal? And so many people come to me and go, I just want so many people there. Well, is that really the purpose
Right.
of your event? 9 times out of 10, it's not. And so we really go back and dive deep into what is that strategy, what do you want to accomplish. I mean, sometimes like with nonprofit, it's awareness. Yes, they want to raise as much money as possible, but it's more about what is your, what are you putting out there? What is your nonprofit? Why do people want, who do you serve? Why do people want to donate? And then once you get that whole, visibility, you're going
Right.
to get those donations. And also I'm seeing it's amazing what's happening with nonprofit that are willing to kind of step
Yeah.
it up a little bit.
Hmm.
They're getting sometimes 3 to 4 times the donations than they were getting live.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunity out there, but that's where we start. We start there, and everything you're doing is tied back to your strategy. I'm always asking people, okay, this is what we talked about. Is this, we're adding this piece of engagement,
Right. Is
funding,
it in
engagement.
alignment with
Is it
your,
in alignment? And
I
you
mean,
all,
as a coach, right? That's always about why did you start? I even have a sign here in my office that says, remember why you started. It's right there.
yeah,
Like if you can remember why you started, you can align all of your actions to that reason why, the big why, right? And it's
yes,
the same thing. And so anyone who's in any kind of development, personal development, professional development, participating in it or teaching it, we're all familiar with that. And I think we forget that an event, it's no different,
yeah, it
right?
is.
It's no different than taking a class or teaching a class. It's just
Mhm.
on steroids.
Yeah, and it's really important. I mean, I continue to say this. Really, what I love to do is help my clients increase their engagement and just have fun doing this because events should be fun. Yes, there's a lot of content. There's a lot of education. I work with a lot of financial services, insurance companies, those kind of who are putting on a lot of larger conferences, maybe multiple tracks at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking for different platforms. How can they support? So those are things that I can help people too,
Yeah.
is to define those, what are those goals and what would be the right platform for them too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not just a Zoom call. I know that Zoom is very, I mean, I use Zoom a lot, but there's a lot of engagement and things you can do with Zoom and still make a really great event. So
Yeah, definitely. And we can start, you don't have to start without support is I think the other thing, right? A lot of us who shifted, or a lot of people who shifted from in person to online, thought all they had to do was open up their Zoom room and just do the same thing.
hmm
And the experience for the participant is so different in person versus online that you really have to do it differently. And to have someone like yourself who can understand that and bring that up to the facilitator, like a lot of the people I think don't realize it until after the event already happened. Well, that didn't really turn out the way I expected it to, or it's no good because it's not the same, right? Which it doesn't have to be the same. It can be completely different and better
yeah,
maybe than
it
being in person.
so true that you just said that because I keep hearing people about how, oh, what am I going to do because people so much are touching the screen and they're like open up their email or going to social media. How do I keep people engaged?
Right.
Well, I've been on so many events and worked with so many clients where people, the networking piece, I have to say, transferring that online that is the hardest piece to get sign off from companies to figure out how the attendees can engage, but it is so possible. But it's all about gamification, funification. Yes, content is important. All of that seriousness is important, but you also have to bring that little funification, gamification in. And I've been on several events that I've also produced but also attended where nobody even wants to look at their email or social media. Like if you even like have to go to a meeting just because you're not on this event, you're like, oh my gosh, what did I miss? And that's always my goal with my clients is you want to create that engagement, that fun, so people aren't opening up their email, they're not going to social media, and they can connect with people online, and how do they do that connection and things like that. So
Yep.
So those are things that I can definitely help people bring to the table, based on what their needs are. Yeah.
So good. So good. Well, and we can all imagine back to when we went to in-person conferences. And you and I were talking about this the other day as we're planning our Gather event for May, is like you walk into the room and there's the energy and things are happening and you can go talk to these people or go look at this. And the idea of being able to translate that in-person experience to the online space,
Yeah.
like I'm super excited about what's possible for that now. And I really hadn't wrapped my head around it until you and I talked.
Well,
So that
yeah,
was super
and
valuable
I
to
think
me.
I think that's important. And for you, like, you're the host. This is what, the community is really important, okay? So those are your clients. The creators and the contributors are your clients. You
Right.
want to be there for them and you want to produce a fabulous event. So here's what I'm always like, a lot of people are trying to do everything. They're trying to be a host, they're trying to be an MC. So sometimes
And they're
you
trying to
need
be
to
the
have.
technical person sometimes.
Exactly. They're trying to do all of them at the same time.
Right.
So I can always tell when somebody has somebody to help them because they are engaged, they're making that eye contact, they're there for the audience, and or sponsors,
Right.
partners. And there's a huge difference. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not the big tech. I can do little tech, but I'm not the big tech. So I
Right.
love to bring in really great sound AV production people that know what to do and know how to up level, because that's what I keep hearing from people. They all want to keep up leveling. How can I make this better? What can I do differently? And
Yeah.
all of that. So,
So I
and
just had this flash, when we were in the space at Gather, if there's an event going on there that's not my I'm not teaching, that someone rented the space and I'm the venue, as the
Mhm.
venue, and make sure the space is good and make sure the AV, like I'm that behind the scenes person. I'm that support that they have now here online. Why don't people think that they need to continue to have that support, right? Support your room, support your technology, because as the teacher, that's not your job,
Yeah,
right? Your job is to teach and to engage with your
exactly.
clients and your participants, right? So yeah, I mean, that's a huge shift. And I think that people forget that because you're by yourself in your room that you actually can get that help. What do you think would be the best like first step someone could make if they want to find someone to help them with the behind the scenes part of their workshop, say?
Well, like sometimes, and especially with your gather community, some of them are like you're looking at 20, 25
Yeah,
attendees,
not
sometimes a little bit,
necessarily a large number
not
of
huge, not,
attendees.
you're not looking 200, because
Right.
tech is important because not everybody has great Wi-Fi. Not everybody has, or they're plugging into Ethernet, all of that. But
What if,
I would just say, I mean, there's a lot of people in event production right now that are just helping people behind the scenes. It
yeah,
doesn't have to cost a lot of money. I mean, I even do that. I help people behind the scenes just to help them, whether it's, if they're using Zoom, sometimes it's just putting stuff in the chat, or this is what I love. I love having a dashboard. Okay, so a lot of people open up a Zoom room and that's their entire platform. You can still do Zoom and have a dashboard. It doesn't have to cost you. It's like a landing page on your website. It does not have to cost a lot. And the other thing too is like with your speakers and things like that, is to do tech checks and to
yeah,
check to make sure all of those things. But I would just say there's a lot of people, back to your question, there's a lot of people that I would say some people were travel directors and they're now doing these things because you can't,
oh
they're
yeah,
not doing it. So they're helping people on behind the scenes, tech support,
yeah,
event people, event production. But once you get larger, it's really important to bring in more people that can stream things and can
right.
do all that tech and make sure if things are going to go down, because that's not my specialty, if it does go down, that it can get back up really quick. And
Yeah.
so that's with switchers and all those kind of things that is probably way too technical right now
Yeah,
to
people are like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Because I'm just thinking about the people who, shifted from doing things primarily in person to fully online. and they're not comfortable with the technology. They're not even maybe comfortable with Zoom. They don't know even how to like make the whole thing with like doing slides, and how do slides are a thing that I think a lot of people used when they were in person, but in person the
Mhm.
slides are in the background,
Yeah, they were with the
right?
hotel person who's putting that in. You've given them a little flash drive,
Right.
and those people are handling all that.
Well,
It's
and that's like background information where the speaker's still up in front, right? Where on Zoom, you put the slides up and all of a sudden you can't even see the speaker, or they're this big,
yeah.
right? And it's hard to garner that attention of your audience when you're not making any like you. And I think a lot of times the presenter says, I can't even see the audience when I'm sharing my slides.
Mhm.
Well, if you can't see your audience, who are you talking to?
Yeah.
Right? You're not getting the engagement that you really want, which in person we used to get because you're standing in front of the slides.
Hmm.
So,
Correct.
there's things to be done there, best practices that you and people can help you with, for people who are unfamiliar with how to best leverage that technology instead of just doing what they think they're supposed to do
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, those are things that I help people with all the time.
all the
So
time.
I
Yeah.
always, I just always say, if it's an unknown, just start the conversation and
Right.
see what go again, going back to strategy, what's your purpose, what's your goal, and how, because there's a lot of people used to use they love PowerPoint and PowerPoint, and there's just so much more you can use now. It doesn't always have to be PowerPoint.
Right.
Canva has even a record and present feature, which is so, it can be so interactive and fun. And so that's what I'm actually getting a lot of people to do that, or just getting a little bit more creative with that.
Yeah.
So it's they engage, and also polls. I mean, a lot of people
Those are great.
don't even, whether you're using the Zoom polling, or there's a lot of things where you could put up a QR code and it goes right into
Oh, I
where
had
that
someone use
person.
that the other day. That was awesome.
It's great. It's engaging. And then you could start putting things on the screen, and then people can start seeing stats and things like that. It's anonymous, because you don't see who answered what. You're just seeing X amount of people said this, and this is what, and that's a great way of pulling people to figure out what they want to hear, what they want to know, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So,
I like that.
I
We need
mean,
to remember that because I
those
like
are
that one.
all interactive tools. So things like, Kahoots, Mentimeter. There's so many different platforms and
Yeah.
programs that you can use. So
Let me
there,
ask you a big question.
go ahead.
What do you see things being like 2 years from now?
Um, I think,
I'm
I
not
think,
saying a year, because in a year
I
we're
know.
still going to be adjusting. 2 years
Yeah,
from
we're
now.
still going to be adjusting. Here's what I think. And if I had my crystal ball, I wish
Crystal
my
ball.
crystal
Yeah.
ball could tell
Magic
me, but
wand.
this is just my thing. I think I hear a lot of people saying, I can't wait to go back to normal. It's a new normal. We're not ever going to go back to what we were before. But I think people are very, they want to see people, they want to be with people, they want to hug people, and so I think at first your live in person is going to go crazy. You're going to have a lot of people go, but I also think that most companies are also going to have to, I'm not sure about hybrid yet, because I feel like there'll be one audience,
Getting a
lack of a
lesser
better,
experience.
exactly, I didn't want to say suffer, getting a lesser experience is probably the best way. But if you really
Very
look at it,
diplomatic.
I know, if you really look at it, it's similar to a baseball game, where you have that live
Oh.
experience in the stands, and you have that live experience at home, where
Yeah.
you're watching that game. And think about it, you
Ooh, that's
also
such a
have
good
two different
analogy. I
you
love
have
that.
two you have two different MCs too. Think about it. When you're in you have the sport, the broad, the newscasters or
Yeah.
sportscasters, I forget
Yeah.
what they're called, um, and you have that. But then you also have when, I know, like when I'm in a Giants game, hey, I'm looking forward to Rennell. Rennell's always, our San Francisco Giants. So
Right.
just those kind of things. And I think that's what's going to end up happening, where people may have to bring in a couple of different MCs
Yeah.
for that experience. So
Oh, I
I'm
love
on the
that.
fence about that right now. I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but that's what I think. I think business in general is going to be completely different because a lot of people are realizing they don't need to get into their car to drive for that one meeting where they can do a lot of video. But it's not to say that you don't want to go and take out your clients and do those kind of things.
Right.
So there's going to be some happy mediums, but there's going to be some saving of time. I think we've all pivoted so quickly. I mean, I don't know if I really love that word anymore, but we've changed things, we've expanded, we've grown, and
Do
we're
you
seeing.
remember back in the mid 2000s when everyone, like video conferencing at offices got huge? And we were
Yes.
doing like this, I don't know if it was a Cisco system setup or something where like it was like half of a conference room and a screen. And
Hmm.
supposedly everyone else on the other side was full size and it looked like you were all there in a room. Like it so
Exactly.
tried to
Yes.
make this in-person experience, even though people were virtual.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just had a flash of that. That was
I know.
like we didn't even know what was to come back then. That's kind of crazy to think
We
about. But I
did.
love your baseball analogy because that sounds
Yeah.
like that totally makes sense to me. And I think people can really wrap their heads around what that's like, right? Imagine online
Yeah.
live events that you're participating in, because even though you're not talking to them, you're participating in it. And
Absolutely.
maybe it's with, and if those casters, sports casters or whatever, had the ability to get feedback from the audience that they were talking to, right? They're just used to talking to nobody.
Yes.
But,
Exactly.
imagine if they had a way to receive chat messages and all of that. And that's like the at home experience or the
Hmm.
virtual experience while the
Yeah.
game. Wow, that sounds really cool. I love that
I think
analogy.
it's great, and I just think so many people are so familiar with Zoom. So why even, just
Yeah.
use it and use it in the best way you can. Now, I know some of my clients, they are more educational. So they are looking for your continuing education credits, and there's things that we have to do. So we use different platforms, but we also use Zoom for a lot of networking and interacting. And I love the fact that Zoom now is allowing people to select their breakout rooms. So you can
Yes.
even have topics. You can have topics and hey, this is going to be this, or you can even have a little fun, like say you have you want to it could be here's your conference and it costs XYZ. And
Yep.
now here's some added fun activities. Because think about it. There's things when you go and you travel for a conference, you have the
Yep.
conference, but then you can add on this
Yep.
safari excursion, whatever it is. So now you can have experiences. You could have a comedy show. You could do a chocolate and cheese tasting. You could do a mixologist. So there's all these things, and then you could have that, and there could be networking and all of those.
Yep.
So it's just it's just getting creative or starting to talk to people that can help you pull those things out
Yeah.
because
And
and I'm
really
like the idea
realizing.
girl. I love ideas, and I also think that events are so important. We talked I like you have a great community and so many people are building community, right? Events are a big part of that, and I'm just thinking that the people that are doing events and they're going, the live online experience, they're going to be ready when we're going to go live,
Yep.
like in person too. So people that are
We
not,
can't
like,
just
I know
wait
a
for
lot
things
of
to get back.
people.
We gotta keep going.
Yeah. I know a lot of people that are just sitting, they're not doing anything. I also know that there's some partner sponsors that are choosing, no, online doesn't work for us. I'd love to talk to more of those people and see, hey, because I'd love to give people tools and ideas on how it can be a great experience and that you can connect with people, and it can just help you grow your
Be,
business.
yeah,
Yeah,
totally different and bigger and better than you even can imagine because I
absolutely.
don't,
Yeah,
you totally opened my mind up to all kinds of new ideas and I thought I knew stuff. So
yeah.
it's great. All right, awesome. Well, we're going to wrap it up, but I just want to thank you because like I said, I'm super grateful that you're part of our community and that we get to have gather experience this up leveling in our events as a result of you being here. And hopefully we are also bringing you as much value being part of our community as you're giving to us, just being with us. So I'm super grateful to you.
Absolutely.
Any like last minute, like this is an evergreen video, it's going to be around for the year. So like just give me the basics of how people can find you. I mean,
Oh, absolutely. Like I'm on all social media, MTR Event Design, and then feel free to just go to my website, mtreventdesign.com. My blog's there. There's lots of tips and things. Great, great, even if just have a conversation, and it's always a great way to reach out. Yeah.
and as you guys can see, Maria is super like nice and open and ready to just
Animated.
imagine what's possible. And that's what we like in our community, is just the idea that things can happen even if we don't know how. So awesome. Well, thank you again, and we'll see you again soon. Mwah.
Thank you, Tracy. Love and hugs.
Love and hugs.